Hi everyone, we're going to look at how to solve two-step equations and inequalities here. The steps are basically the same for an equation and inequality, so we're going to kind of loop them all together, and then you'll see a couple differences here towards the bottom. So to solve a two-step equation, what I usually start off with is I separate the two sides with a little line in between. That just shows me my left side and the right side. What you do to the left side, you must always do to the right and vice versa. In order to keep them balanced, you got to do the same thing to both sides. So the way I remember how to start these is usually you don't touch the variable first. You say can't touch that variable, can't touch this, and then you move the 8 over instead. So the 8 we're going to get rid of first. It's a plus 8, so we're going to do a minus 8 to both sides. That will give us 15 equaling 3x. With any two-step equation, you make a two-step into a one-step after you do your first step. And now we just want to get x by itself. We divide both sides by that 3 in front, and you get 5 equaling x. Now, the way you check your work to make sure you do this correctly is you just replace x back into the equation, and you show that both sides of the equation are equal. The left side was just 23. The right side is 3 times the x plus 8, which is 15 plus 8, which is 23. They're both 23, which means that our answer is correct because the number we found, 5, makes the equation true. It makes the both sides equal to each other. This number here does not relate to that number. It's okay that they're different numbers. They most often will be. 5 made both sides equal. That's why it's the answer. This works for any variable, not just x. So the next one here, we've got an f instead. Same idea. So I usually circle that and say can't touch this, like good old MC Hammer. Can't touch that. Circle it with the symbol in front. The plus sign in front goes with that 6. So now we're going to get rid of the 5. It's a negative 5, so we're going to do the opposite, which is adding it to both sides. We get negative 30 equaling, bring this down, 6f. Take an f by itself, we're going to get rid of that 6 by dividing by it, and we get f equaling negative 5. So negative 5 is the only value of f that will make this true. Because negative 5 plus 6 times negative 5 is negative 5 plus negative 30, which is negative 35, which was the right side. So both sides are equal. When this is true, f is negative 5, so there's our answer. Moving on down here, same idea for c. Circle the whole variable term, can't touch this. That 6 is positive, so we're going to subtract it. So we get negative 5c equaling negative 15. Divide both sides by negative 5. Don't forget that negative. That gives you just c, which is what we want, equaling 3. There's our answer. The next one looks a little bit tricky, but it's the same idea. There's the variable. Can't touch that. Get rid of your plus 10 by subtracting it. So we get negative 9. Equaling p over 4. And you got to think, what operation is happening to that variable p? Well, it's being divided. To undo division, we do the opposite, which is multiplication. Times 4 to both sides, we get negative 36 equaling our variable p. Let's just check our answer for that one because it seemed a little weird. The left side, the right side. So the left side was 1. The right side is p over 4 plus 10. So negative 36 over 4 plus 10. Order of operations says to divide first, so negative 9 plus 10, which is 1. Both sides are 1. We did it correctly. Solve an inequality, a two-step inequality. Do the same 2 steps you normally do. Just be careful if you divide by a negative. We're going to see that pretty soon. So here's our variable term. Can't touch that. Get rid of your 6. It's a positive, so we're going to subtract it from both sides. This gives us negative 63. Bring down that symbol exactly the way it looks, not an equal sign. And then bring down the 9z. That's still there. 6's are gone. Now we're going to divide by a 9. And we get negative 7 and 1z, which is just z. Bring down the symbol. The symbol didn't change here. It looks just like this because you're dividing by a positive. If you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative on both sides, then the symbol is going to flip. But it's not going to flip in cases where you divide or multiply by a positive number. If you want to put the z first, you can rewrite this whole inequality the opposite direction. Just make sure it points the same way. It was pointing at z, so it's pointing at z this way. So z is less than or equal to negative 7. For the last one here, we're going to see some dividing by a negative because you've got a negative in front of that variable. So for our 2 steps, let's circle the variable, can't touch that. Let's move the 1 over by adding it. We get 5 is less than, or is greater than or equal to negative 1w, or negative 1w is less than or equal to 5. We're going to now divide by the negative 1. We're dividing by a negative, which is going to flip our symbol. So it's going to point the other way when we do that. So again, divide or multiply by a negative flips the inequality symbol. It's the only real trick when it comes to solving a 2-step inequality.